Hello, welcome back to my little cozy corner. Today we are going to be talking about all of the books I read in the month of August. It's a pretty short list, even though my TBR was pretty long, but I'm excited to share it with you. So grab a drink, grab a snack, let's get cozy, and let's chat about the books for August. Okay, so the first book that I read to completion was Don't Hex and Drive, which is book two in the Stay a Spell series by Juliet Cross. Now, this book wasn't originally on my August TBR, but I picked it up because I was in the mood. I am very much a mood reader. I can't follow my TBR to save my life. I'm sure maybe if I put like a system in place, I could figure out, or maybe just I have the golden goose of TBRs for a month, I can get through it. But I'm a mood reader and I was craving a witchy romance in August. So I read Don't Hex and Drive. Let me give you the information. Three words I would use to describe this book is quick, easy, and saucy. Very saucy. I feel like saucy and spicy are two different things. Like when I think of spicy, I think rough and tough and grr. But when I think saucy, I'm like, ooh, it's saucy. So I think it was saucy. Anyways, the things I liked the diversity. The male main character was a Bollywood Stygorn. A Stygorn is a really strong vampire, basically. But he was originally a Bollywood actor, and so that was really cool. And he had lots of references to his food and his culture and what it was like growing up in India. And so I thought that was really interesting. I really liked that it was more diverse. It wasn't just a regular guy who was from India, and he that made him more interesting and I would say like a third dimensional character than 3D. I liked that the female main character was an introvert. I can really relate to that. I also liked that the male main character, he wasn't pushy. He just stated what he wanted from her. He's like, hey, I like you. I want this with you. And he let her make the decision. He wasn't pushing her. He wasn't trying to persuade her in any way. He let her come to him and make the decision. And so I really liked that. I really appreciated that in this book. That's probably the extent of what I enjoyed about the book. It wasn't memorable. Normally, I write these little cue cards right after I'm done reading it, but I forgot and I forgot about the book, which tells me that the book wasn't really memorable. It's a very romance centered story, and the plot comes second. So the story is going to be all focused on the romance and them getting together. There is a subplot. There was like a little mystery that they were trying to solve, about the kidnapping of these girls. My mom has read this series and she says it's like watching a Hallmark movie. It's like very romance centered, and then in the last I don't know, like 20, not even 20 minutes, maybe like the last 10 minutes of the movie, the underlying conflict is resolved. Same for this. It's very romance heavy, and then the plot resolves in the last chapter or two. It's very quick. It wasn't very thought provoking or emotional. There wasn't anything in here that made me sit back and reflect. There wasn't anything that made me emotional. I didn't cry at all. I didn't even kick my feet and giggle. It was just kind of a fun, easy, fast read. It kind of felt like I was just like watching a TV show. I just have it on. I just read it. It didn't change my world. So with that being said, I gave this book 3 stars because I finished it. I enjoyed my time. It didn't change my life, but it also wasn't all that memorable. So that's why it's only getting 3 stars for me. The second book I read in August is actually the third book in the Stay a Spell series, which is Witches Get Stitches. Again, I was mood reading. I read that book. So I think I read this book in like 2.5, 3 days. Super fast, easy to read. Same with this one. I think this one took me like 2 or 3 days to finish while working. Like on my lunch breaks after work, I was reading these. And so this is the third book. I thought it was reflective, entertaining, and cute. The male main character was an obsessed werewolf, which is my favorite type of male main character, is an obsessed werewolf. It's fated mates, and he's been waiting for her for 2 years. So I enjoyed that. And I also enjoyed that there was enchanted tattoos. So she was helping develop tattoos that were enchanted to help werewolves control their beast, because in this story, werewolves are kind of looked down upon because they're so emotional, they're constantly angry, they're seen as aggressive. And so there's the stigmatism around them of like, we can't be friends, you're not supposed to date werewolves because they're aggressive and they're gonna hurt you, and their beast, they can't control it. And so there's a gang of werewolves that, spoiler alert, kidnap the female main character and force her to give them these tattoos so that they can have control over their beast. It made me think that maybe this book is like a metaphor for mental health, or maybe some other demographics that could relate to the werewolves in this book. So it definitely got me thinking, but it was not emotional for me. It did not bring out any emotion. It was kind of predictable, but it was still enjoyable because I enjoy werewolves. I enjoy fated mates. One of the things that I'm not liking with this series is I feel that the author diminishes the individuality of the female main character from previous books, and it's making me not want to continue the series. An example is like in this book, one of the male characters from the first, the main male character from the first book, Mateo, he shows up in this book, and we get to see him continuing to be an artist. We see him being an individual. We see him helping his brother in this book. But Evie, who's the male-female character in the first book, we only see her when she's being carted around by Mateo, when Mateo's being protective of her, we only see them being a couple. Whereas one of the things I really loved about the first book in Evie is that she so badly wanted to be a comic book author. And in the epilogue of the first book, we see her at a meet and greet, and Mateo's with her and supporting her. And I just feel that she lost her individuality in this. Same with the female main character from the second book, Isadora. At the end of this book, Isadora made a comment that she was going to buy a animal shelter. Well, that's never brought up again, but we see her plenty of times with her boyfriend, you know, kissing and being flirty, and there's mentions of her like not spending the night at home, and she's at his place now. And so I'm not really enjoying that. The one thing that I loved about the Windy City series is that you see the previous characters being a couple, but you also get to see them as being their own individual person. So I only gave this book 3 stars. So the last book I'm going to talk about is actually the first book I tried to read this month, and that is The Spell Shop. This one was my most anticipated read for this month, and it was so disappointing. I was so disappointed in it. I was so excited, and it did not meet my expectations. I only made it to page 88, and I DNF'd it. I couldn't get through it. It's really cute. The premises of the show, the premises of the story is really interesting. Like, she has to escape, and she fleds back to her home island, and she makes an illegal like library, which sounds so interesting. But it was so slow. It was so slow. In about 100 pages, she's still on the island and she's trying to make jam. She's trying to feed herself. And it was just, I don't like a lot of details, and it was way too detailed, in my opinion. Like, I don't care that the wind smelt like honey and it brought her back to when she was young and her dad were playing in the meadows and her mom came out and got her for lunch. And then the water was so refreshing that it reminded her of this and that. And I don't, it was just too detailed, way too detailed. And I wasn't getting any romance. Like, there was this guy who kept showing up to help fix things, but there wasn't anything romantic about it. She kept shooing him away and she was being really rude to him. I DNF'd it. I give it 1 star. I'm not gonna get rid of it though. I'm thinking, I feel bad. I feel really bad. Because I was so excited for this one. I might come back and reread it maybe later on. Like, I feel like it might be a good winter book. Because when I think of winter, I think of like the slow, detailed books. And so maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it. I'm also not a big fan of third perspective. And that's what this book is. I really like the first perspective in books, especially like the dual POVs that go back and forth. Those are my favorite. And that's what these Stay as Spelled books are, is their dual POV and their first perspective. And so I think that's what makes them go by so fast, is having it be dual POV and first perspective. So I don't know. I don't read a lot of third perspective books. Maybe I'll give it another try, but as for right now, I'm DNFing it and I'm giving it a 1. And so those are all the books I read for August. Thank you so much for hanging out. What did you read? What did you enjoy? What didn't you enjoy? Does the perspective matter to you guys? So yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you have a great day. Love ya.